Oh, hey there, how are you? And welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Leif Smith. Today we're going to take a deep dive into the fascinating realm of human cognition. Have you ever wondered why we keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again? Well, you guys, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'm going to unravel the 5 most common thinking errors. From demanding too much of ourselves to catastrophizing every little hiccup, we're going to explore the intriguing ways that our minds can sometimes play tricks on us. But fear not, as we've got the tools to overcome these pitfalls, and we're going to supercharge our decision making. So, grab a pen and paper, or just grab your favorite journal, and let's get going. By the end of this video, you're going to be armed with valuable insights that can make a real difference in your everyday life. Are you ready? Hit that play button and let's challenge the way we think. Don't forget to hit like and don't forget to hit subscribe if you're ready to explore the powerful ways in which we think. Okay, let's get right into it. So the first error is called demanding. Demanding is when you set your standards too high too many times. So it could be your personal standards are way too high. You keep a clean house, so everybody else should keep a clean house. You like to do things this way, so everybody else should do things this way. This is how you do it, so why is everybody else not doing that? That's an example of demanding. Another example of demanding is when you have this belief that life has to be fair. When is life fair anyway, if you really look at the evidence? Has it ever been fair? No. But when you walk around telling yourself life needs to be fair, you're going to get upset because we know what's going to happen there. Also, another example of demanding would be if I act this way, other people are supposed to act this way too. If I believe this, other people are supposed to believe this. If this is the way I have always done things, why does everybody else not do it that way? These are all examples of demanding, and the problem with demanding is you're going to be wrong most of the time because the world is full of variety and it's full of 8 billion people that do things differently, probably, than you do. And so you walk around expecting everything to go a certain way or demanding that things go a certain way. And then they don't, and you make yourself miserable. Okay, now we're moving on to catastrophizing, or in other words, making mountains out of molehills. If you live anywhere in the United States, you've heard this saying a million times. This is a big cognitive error because what we do is we make everything worse than it needs to be. I have a friend, she's also a therapist, she's highly anxious, and we laugh about it, that's why I'm sharing this story. But over lunch a couple days ago, we were talking and we were having lunch and she said she had a headache. So she had called her grandfather after having a headache for a couple hours, and she was worried because she thought she had a brain tumor. Me being a therapist also, I asked her, do you have any other signs of having a brain tumor, possibly? No, I don't. I'm just worried. I worry about that, so I want to make sure I stay on top of it. Well, it's a running joke between us that she makes mountains out of molehills. Her grandfather is a surgeon, so she calls him every time she has a little ache or a little pain, and she calls him assuming the worst. But what happens in the meantime is she riles herself up. She gets anxious. She activates this fight or flight response in her body every single time. That will wear you down. That is a great example of catastrophizing. And maybe you do that in your life also. Maybe you assume the worst in a relationship. Maybe you assume that one little thing you did is going to ruin the entire relationship of 10 years you've had with this person. Maybe you assume that you said the wrong thing at the wrong time and they're never going to forgive you, they're never going to forget it, and it's done. That's an example of catastrophizing also. And we do this a lot in life without even realizing it. Black and white thinking. Do you engage in this error? If so, you're not alone. A lot of people do. This is also called all or nothing thinking. I used to do this when I was in college. I remember being at a party with two friends of mine, and I was hanging out with one of my friends, and we were sitting there on the couch at a party. I don't know whose party it was. We were just crashing some party, right? It's, our other friend, the third friend that I'm talking about here, I think it was a bunch of his friends. So me and my other friend, we're sitting there on the couch and we're talking, and I got really upset. I felt like our third friend, who was off talking to other people, I felt like he was kind of dissing us. He was just not hanging with us, and we were just left there fiddling our thumbs, right, by ourselves. And I got really upset. And my friend that I was sitting with, he said, Leif, it's not that simple. It's not just he's either your friend or he's not your friend. Because I was complaining that he was being disloyal. He's not being a good friend. He said, Leif, maybe he's being a good friend, but he's also being a good friend to the other people at the party also. And in that moment, it hit me, and I started realizing, yeah, maybe he's right. Maybe I was engaging in all or nothing thinking. Either you're my friend or you're my foe, right? It's not that simple. Most of life fits into a standard bell curve, right? And most of that bell curve, if you look at it statistically, is in the middle. So most of life is actually in the gray area, not the black and not the white. It's in the gray area in the middle. But when we walk around thinking that people are either friend or foe, you have to be a Republican or you have to be a Democrat. You're either with me or you're against me. This is the way things work or they don't work. When you walk around doing that with your thinking, the world gets stressful because then everything has to be forced into one of those two categories. And that is not simply put, that is not how the world works. Most of the world is in the gray. Overgeneralizing. This is a common error also. And what happens here is we take one instance and we assume that this is how the world works, right? So we visit a certain place in America, right? Or you visit somewhere in Europe or whatever, and you have an interaction with someone, right? And they're rude to you. You're in line and they're rude to you. God forbid, oh my gosh, someone is rude to you. And so you say, oh, that's how they are. That's how French people are. They're just rude. That's how people are in Europe. They're just rude to Americans. Because it happened one time. So we don't want to overgeneralize from one instance. You want a good way to break this pattern? Here's what I do. I look for 3. I look for something happening 3 times for it to be a pattern. So if I'm in line at Starbucks 3 different times in France and French people are rude to me and cut in line and dump their lattes on me and pour hot coffee on me and scald me, right? I think that's a pattern. French people are rude. But until that happens, I'm not going to assume anything. Lots of things happen one time. We have lots of one-off events in our life. Stop taking that one-off event and assuming that this is how it's going to be every single time. We call that overgeneralizing, and that is a big cognitive error. Another quick thought on overgeneralizing that I want to make sure I add. This happens a lot with people with trauma or PTSD. Something terrible, something bad happens once in their life, and they assume, because it's a protective mechanism, they assume that it's going to happen every single time after that. So it's a big part of PTSD. You have something bad happen to you, and then you get in a protective mode, and for the rest of your life, if you don't get therapy, you're walking around afraid that that one event is going to happen, it's going to replicate over and over and over again. Very important to understand that. Okay guys, you made it. We are at the end. We are at the 5th and final mental cognitive error that we make as human beings. This one is called personalizing. This one is when you make it all about you. Everything becomes personalized, right? So that little comment that someone makes offhand at the party, it was meant for you, right? They knew. It was a little jibe at you. Or this happens, this traffic happens all the time because they know I'm running late, right? In fact, that's why we get mad in traffic, because we personalize it. We assume as we're driving along, right? One of 1,000 or 1,000,000 cars on the highway. And we assume that everybody knows that I'm running late and I need to get where I need to go. And so when that guy cuts me off, he knows that makes me mad. Oh my gosh, he knew. He knew that was going to make me mad. He knew I hate that. So I'm going to tailgate him to show him, right? On and on it goes. Road rage is just personalizing. It's making everything about you. In fact, I don't know about you, but when I drive, I've accidentally cut people off because I just didn't have a good habit of looking in my blind spot. Oops, sorry, right? You've probably done it too. So in fact, it had nothing to do with everyone else. It had to do with my own laziness, not checking my own blind spot. In life, try to not personalize. Try not to take everything so personally. In fact, go the other way. Most of life is not about us. When you walk into a room and someone says, "Oh, hey, speak of the devil." Yeah, they probably were talking about you for 5 seconds, maybe. But they weren't talking about you for 2 hours over coffee and discussing the pros and the cons of your life choices. So let's not make everything about us. Because when we do that, everything becomes personal and everything becomes an attack on us and our frailties and our faults and so on and so forth. There you have it, the 5 most common cognitive or mental errors that we make as humans. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you as part of my community as I build and grow this channel here on YouTube. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.